Hey guys, this is the Sports Kid, and thanks for tuning in to my podcast. This is our first episode functioning more like a pilot episode. We had recorded this live on Facebook and YouTube before purchasing our professional soundboard and microphone setup, so please excuse our poor audio. However, my dad and I had a great time discussing my NFC and AFC championship game predictions, the Detroit Lions season, and more. We'll be rolling out new episodes every week, so be sure to like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on them. And thanks again, and enjoy the show.
What's up, everybody?
Hi.
We are excited to announce Emery's new podcast, the Sports Kid Podcast. If you know Emery, he loves talking sports. This kid has stats for days locked into his brain. I often go to him asking him questions. We're watching games or whatever, and I'll ask Emery, "Hey, what college did that kid go to?" And he can name colleges. He names stats. He knows if we're watching the pros. Again, he knows the leading rusher, the leading pass receiver, quarterback stats off the top of his head. It's crazy. So I'm like, Emery, why don't we do a podcast? I think it'd be cool for us to just talk sports. He wants to share his sports knowledge with us every day. So why not share it with you guys as well? And that's what this is about. Sports Kid Podcast coming to you live tonight. We're on Facebook today. We're also on YouTube. We've got more stuff in the works. We've got our podcast equipment coming. So pretty soon we will be on all the different podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, you name it. This is a new venture for us, trying to figure out some of this stuff as we go. But this is a big week for sports. There's a lot to talk about in Michigan. So thought that we would just get this started tonight, not waste any time. So here we are. We're going to go moving forward. I am the co-host. Emery is the host. I'll be asking him some questions, but he's going to be the one sharing the information, talking with me. It's going to be a conversation type of podcast. Again, just him and I talking sports. We'll go through a list of things that we might want to talk about. And the biggest thing is we thought it'd be cool to bring kind of a, father-son duo perspective to sports. But maybe it will resonate with other parents, other families, other kids as well. Something a little bit different. Most podcasts are adults. We got kids. We got Emery. He's 11 years old, bringing you guys the latest stuff. So thought that was kind of cool. Again, tonight we're doing the live thing on Facebook. We might not always go live. Really moving forward, most of the podcasts are going to be pre-recorded and then pushed out. We're planning on a weekly basis. Most should be about an hour long, covering the latest topics: Detroit sports, the Lions, the Tigers, the Red Wings, occasionally the Pistons, college sports as well. And we thought it'd be cool to, we like our sports cards. So when we're doing pack rips, we'll probably do some live pack rips on here as well. And then any events we go to. We like going to sporting events. We like going to card shows, autograph signings, different things like that. So we will be bringing that stuff to you guys as well. So anything you want to add before we get started?
Not really.
Not really. All right. So we are ready to get started. What do you want to talk about first?
The Lions and their loss.
The Detroit Lions and their loss. Make sure you speak loud enough for the people through the internet to hear you. So what's the big thing about the Detroit Lions this week? What do you want to talk about?
Probably their big upset loss against the Washington Commanders in the divisional round of the NFC playoffs. So, Yeah, that was a heartbreaking moment right there when they just kind of lost that. Um, Golf 5 turnovers really didn't help us at all, and, you know, and our defense was just struggling a lot to contain Jane Daniels and the Commanders, and that's really what made us fall.
So there's a lot of contributing factors to the game. What do you think the number one factor was? Was there a number one factor?
Um, I'd probably say Goff's 3 picks that he threw, like, you can't expect to have 3 picks and still win the game, especially in the playoffs when Jane Daniels and the Commanders are, like, pushing to beat the number 1 seed, where, like, you had your target on your back and everybody's trying to get you.
Yeah, I was one that was. I'm sure a lot of people were hoping that we would play the Commanders, and one of my buddies said, "Be careful what you wish for." And I'm like, "Nope, I'm wishing for this. I think they can beat them."
Yeah.
Rookie quarterback coming into it. But like you said, uh, those turnovers, I think, was probably the biggest thing. Even if we would have only turned it over twice, we probably still would have won.
Yeah. And when we 3 it out on them and we got the ball back, like, we needed to score and stuff, and there was times that we
It's still there.
and we only scored a field goal, and then we were giving them the ball, and then they were scoring touchdowns. And when you're only scoring field goals and they're scoring touchdowns, you can't catch up really.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard to make up the difference. I think the Commanders played a very good game. I mean, they looked dang near perfect out there, and the Lions, that was the worst. Had to been. I mean, it was the worst performance we saw this year, I think, for sure. On the main stage, you got Goff, his issues. You've got trust in Jamison Williams with the throw. I mean, when the season's on the line, are you going to give trust Jamison Williams' arm?
What were we doing there? Like, he's not a quarterback, he's a wide receiver. You don't give him the ball to throw it because he's just going to be in his head, not thinking like a quarterback saying, oh, I have to throw the ball. And then what did he do? Threw a pick. So, and that wasn't even like a good throw. He was in coverage and everything. So he just should have thrown it out of bounds.
Yeah, I think there was like 3 defenders
Yeah.
stacked up, and yeah, not good. So yeah, we've got Goff, his issues. We've got the defense. Let's talk about the defense.
So started off, Amik Robertson, what did he do? Break his arm or whatever.
Broke his arm.
And he was like holding up our defense pretty much. And losing him, it was already a bad start to the game. And like there was a guy, I forget what his name was, that was out there had played 1 snap all season, and that's who we put out there in the playoffs because that's how we didn't have anybody else. Everybody was injured.
Yeah, how many injuries? I mean, it was 20 some injuries or something like that.
Like, yeah.
Losing our boy Hutch early on in the season. I mean, that from there, that was kind of the start. They call it the injury bug, and the injury bug went around our team, the defense for sure. So
Yeah. And like the 12 men on the field thing really, really did not help. And that was a coaching issue, I'd say. Because, like, they should have called the timeout there. They should not have just let them stand out there. Like, they showed the coaches yelling at them and stuff. Like, just call a timeout. You had 3.
yeah, I mean, I think that's a decent segue into the coaching issues that we had arguably 2 of the best coaches. It seems like. Well, we have Dan Campbell, of course, who's the man.
Yeah.
But we've got Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn. Let's talk about them.
So, Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson are probably the best offensive defensive coordinator in the entire league right now. Well, unless they get hired. But they have been doing good all season. Aaron Glenn has been pushing the defense, and they've been doing pretty good for what they had on their defense. And he was making the plays and knew what to do. And Ben Johnson was push had all the right plays, knew what to do, and the Lions were in a hard time or whatever. But they were getting like interviewed, and they even said it that Tom Brady had been interviewing with Aaron Glenn, I think it was, that same week. And when you're like thinking about moving on to the next thing and like becoming the head coach, you're not going to be like too focused or less focused on your already position. And that really didn't help because like all season long, Aaron Glenn would have called a timeout there, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I think both of those guys were on their game all year, and some of the plays, that Ben Johnson was calling, I mean, they were just top-notch plays to get us out of trouble. And like you said, with Aaron Glenn, what he had to work with this year on the defense, and he still made a lot out of it. But them interviewing, whether they were officially interviewing or not, we know that they were talking with people. And when you're in a position, I know you haven't been there yet, but like if you're senioritis is a big thing in school when you're your senior year, and like those last few months of your senior year, or even the last whole year, you're already thinking about leaving. And that last few months or last year, you're just on your way out. You're just getting through, trying to make it through to where you can walk through the door. When if you're getting into a job and you're trying to switch jobs or something, which is what this relates to, those last 2 weeks, you put your 2 week notice in, whatever, those last couple of weeks, you're just trying to get things through, get things done, and you're already gone. And I think mentally that's where those guys were. They wanted to win. I don't think that they were out there trying to lose, but
They just weren't trying their hardest and
mentally they
didn't
just
have it on their A game pretty much.
yeah.
Like Ben Johnson, like what was he thinking by putting in Jamison Williams to throw the ball there? Like that wasn't even like a good thought in anybody's head to have him like especially in the last what was it like this fourth quarter or third quarter or something?
Yeah.
Like when we needed to score and needed to take the lead back, you're not gonna give it to a wide receiver to throw.
No, you should be sticking to what you know, doing what you do best, running the ball, giving Gibbs the ball every down, whatever makes sense. But I don't know, the coaching thing. Ben Johnson, I think, signed with the Bears, didn't he?
Yeah,
So he's gone, and it was kind of crazy that quick that it was just a few days later he's already signed with the Bears. So obviously they were talking, they were in negotiations. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. If they hire outside the organization or if they bring people up from within the organization. I don't know. Be interesting to see who fills those gaps. But let's talk about the Lions. Who is your favorite player this year?
So my favorite player has since Hutch was a rookie, he's been my favorite because he's just so electric and knows how to play the game a lot better than any other defensive end. But once he got injured, it that game was really hard to see him get injured like that. But since then, I've really liked Jahmyr Gibbs because he's just faster than everybody else on the field, and you give it to him, and it's pretty much a first down or 5 yards every single time. And he's just been really good, led the league in touchdowns, and so he would probably be my favorite.
Jahmyr Gibbs, yeah, the Sonic, they call him. Which that guy, I mean, he's got wheels. You watch him break away. Emery multiple times. I'm a big Barry fan. We got the Sanders jersey here. Got some other collectibles. Barry Sanders. Always telling Emery he's the GOAT. Since he started getting into football, I'm like, Emery, this is the guy. Barry Sanders, the best there ever was, the best there ever will be. How many times this year did you say that Gibbs is better than Barry?
A lot because like Barry was really good, but he was pretty much the entire Detroit Lions team when he played. besides like Herman Moore. But like Gibbs like led the league in touchdowns, and he's still having Amon-Ra, David Montgomery, and all those other guys that are really good, and he's still been that good and scored more touchdowns than Barry Sanders did in a season. So, and he's just faster. But I will give it to Barry. He could juke and spin move out of pretty much everything. And Gibbs can do that too, but Barry was just at a different level, kind of. And the game's changed a lot since Barry Sanders was on.
Yeah, I'll give it to him. I mean, he's the man. Great draft pick. Quick trivia. What college did he go to?
Alabama.
Alabama. All right. Was he a Heisman candidate?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? I don't know that he was either. He should have been probably.
Yeah.
But he's the man. So we got Jahmyr Gibbs. What do you think about Jared Goff? Is Jared Goff the real deal, or is he a phony?
There's been a lot of ups and downs, and I've said a lot on both sides this season. Like when we lost, I was mad at Jared Goff, but Jared Goff, coming into the Lions, a lot of people did not like that idea at all by trading Stafford away. And a lot of people didn't like it because then he went on to win the Super Bowl. But I think that Jared Goff has done something that Matt Stafford couldn't have done because he's pretty much changed the entire, I wouldn't say the entire, but has changed the franchise a lot and made like 15-2 this season. I don't think Matt Stafford couldn't have done. But Matt Stafford is a really good quarterback. But that's what we were hoping when Matt Stafford was drafted, that he would turn around the franchise. And he did help quite a bit, but it wasn't what Goff's done.
Yeah, I think Goff coming in, like you said, it was a lot of people weren't too happy about Stafford leaving. Again, a lot of people cheered for him when he was going to the Super Bowl. We were happy for him. But Goff, I mean, the Jared Goff chants everywhere. He's kind of become, he's a fan favorite. But I've seen a lot of people on social media recently declaring that we need to stop the Jared Goff chants until he
like after they lost
can prove something. Yeah. So but here's my thought, and I said this last season too, that if at the beginning of the season, I know this is kind of a cliche question, but if at the beginning of the season you knew, or somebody said, hey, the Lions are going to go 15-2, they're going to get a first round bye in the playoffs, and then they're going to lose in the second round. If somebody told you that at the beginning of the season, would you have been satisfied with that? Or were your goals set at the Super Bowl?
I mean, I would say just like, don't look too far ahead because like he was saying earlier, like I wanted the Lions to play the Commanders because I thought it was going to be an easy win for them rather than playing like Minnesota or something, but they ended up blowing it. But I would probably say I would be, because 15-2, that's something that a lot of people, like a lot of teams, don't come by during their franchise or whatever. And being the number one seed, they've never done pretty much. So I would say that I would probably be satisfied. But if I knew that they had just made it to the playoffs, I would be wanting them to make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, they set several franchise records this year. I think 15-2 was one of them.
Yeah.
Being the number one seed. I mean, they did a lot of great things. I think that a lot of people had too high of expectations. People thinking that they're going to win the Super Bowl. I mean, we all wanted them to. I think they had a good chance to. Last year, they were super close. This year seemed like things were heading in the right direction, but I think people forgot how bad the defense was, and we got exposed completely. by the Commanders. So sticking with NFL, the season's not over. We still got another round of playoffs, and we have the Super Bowl. What are your predictions?
So I'm going to start with the NFC Championship game. I am going to say that is going to be a really good game. The Commanders versus the Eagles. The Eagles have been really hot all season and have been really good with their running back Saquon Barkley, and Jalen Hurts has been really good. But I will say that the rookie quarterback Jane Daniels just has like a goal in his head that he wants to beat you, and he wants to be one of the greatest, I'd probably say. And I would say that the Commanders could beat the Eagles.
So are you going to say that they will beat the Eagles? Let's make some predictions.
The Commanders will beat the Eagles.
Commanders are going to beat the Eagles. Do you think it's going to be a close game?
Yeah, I think that the Philadelphia's run game is going to be really strong because they have such a stud running back. But I think that the Commanders' passing game is where they will beat them at, because they have Terry McLaurin, and he's just been a hot wide receiver all season, been really good. And yeah, and the rookie quarterback can run really good too and throw the ball really deep.
Yeah, their offense is interesting the way they stack it up. I forget what they call it. It's kind of like the run pass option. The Lions they again got completely exposed. They weren't prepared for it. It'll be interesting to see if the Eagles study the tapes, figure out a way to contain Jaden Daniels, because the guy can run, he can throw the ball. Plus they have the option, to hand it off, whatever. So that'll be interesting. All right, what about the other
So the
divisional?
AFC Championship game, I'm gonna say that is gonna be a very, very close game, probably closer than the Eagles Commanders, because Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, they are seeking that three-peat. They want to be the first team to do it. And the Bills, they just need to win a Super Bowl probably. And they're a good team, but they're known to choke in the playoffs. That's what Josh Allen's like known for. So I would say that the Chiefs are gonna win because Mahomes, he has like been in the playoffs a lot more than Josh Allen has. And he he's never lost to the Bills in the playoffs. He's beat them every single time. And he just kind of knows how to play in the big games like this. And he's not going to be playing like he's going to be trying harder.
So Josh Allen coming in, got a chip on his shoulder, something to play for, something to prove. Um, we see what happened with Minnesota. Sam Darnold completely choked. We see what happened with the Lions. Jared Goff completely choked. Are you thinking that Josh Allen's going to choke?
Yeah.
You're calling it.
Yep. Because the Chiefs they really haven't had a blowout game all season, and they've all been very close games. But I think that the playoffs just does give them a little extra boost to play harder and do better. And Josh Allen and the Bills, they're gonna have a target on their back because they beat the Chiefs already this season, and they're gonna have the Chiefs are gonna have something to really prove that they're the better team than the Bills, and like um
So you think it's going to be hard for the Bills to beat the Chiefs twice?
yeah, because the Bills were at home, and they're gonna be at Arrowhead, so and those Chiefs fans, they're not easy.
Yeah, that's good. Good stuff. All right, let's talk about college football. I've got the maize and blue on. You've got the natty hat from last season on. National championship game last night. I said it. arguably the two most hated teams in the country go head to head. Ohio State, Notre Dame. Nobody likes Ohio State outside of Ohio State or outside of Ohio. Nobody likes Notre Dame outside of Indiana. So now there's people, don't get me wrong, I know there's some people, I've probably got some friends that are listening, watching that would argue that. But let's talk about that game. Let's talk about college football. What are your thoughts? What do you want to talk about?
So my thoughts are Ohio State. They came in, they lost to Michigan, and they came into the playoffs and were really hot. They took out Oregon, which I was not expecting that. I thought Oregon was going to blow them out. I thought that Oregon was going to win the national championship, but Ohio State came in, beat them, and Notre Dame had a really good playoff run too, and beaten some really good teams as well. But going into the national championship, I thought that Notre Dame was gonna win because they've just been a hot team all the playoffs and all season, and they just kind of had like the push to beat Ohio State. I felt, but
It was kind of
yeah,
a blowout. I mean, the score, it was 34-23. The score made it look a lot closer, I think, than it really was, especially towards the end there. But it was kind of a blowout. And nobody wants to see Ohio State win, I don't think. So it was um, kind of difficult to watch, even if you weren't rooting for Notre Dame. But yeah, I mean, I think the playoffs this year were cool. I think they were exciting to watch. I think it seemed like the first round wasn't as exciting. I thought some of these games were going to be a lot closer than they actually were. Um, but like you said, I mean, Ohio State ends up on top. What do you think about U of M?
um,
Where are they going? What's the future?
I I really like U of M, and I really hope that they go in a positive direction with their Bryce Under as their new
Who is it?
Bryce Underwood.
Bryce Underwood, 5-star
Yeah,
recruit, right?
best QB in the country is supposed to be. And I think that he will be a very hopefully lead Michigan to do something a lot better than they have this season. But my only thing is they're gonna lose Colston Loveland because he's gonna be in the draft, and he was a lot of the help this season. Colston Loveland was, and their defense, or yeah, they're gonna lose some of their defensive players too. So it's gonna be a different team, I'd say. But I would hope that Bryce Underwood would lead them in a positive direction.
Yeah, it's going to be really a completely different team from last season. If you think about, I mean, they lost how many guys in the draft?
It was like 11.
11. Um, our boy JJ, we saw. I don't know if you guys saw the video of him on the sidelines. What was it, a couple weeks ago? And he was just looking like a pale ghost. Like, what happened to our boy JJ? He needs to get some sun.
Yeah. I really felt so bad for them, so bad for him, because my dad told me that he had tore his like ACL or whatever it was the next day, and I had no clue about it. And I just felt so bad because like he was coming in, being in the top 10, the first round, top 10 draft picks. That was really big for him. And like, I thought that if he would have still played, that Minnesota would have been really good. But they ended up still being pretty good with Sam Darnold. But yeah, I just don't really know.
I think it helps. I mean, you look at what Tom Brady, he had to ride the pine for a bit, and it can be good for some of these quarterbacks. You never know. I mean, college and NFL are two totally different worlds. So you can have great studs in college and then go into the pros and they're nobodies. So, and even with Bryce Underwood coming to Michigan,
It's a lot different than high school.
a lot different than high school. You're playing against some of the biggest, the fastest guys in the country at that level. But a lot of it is mental. It's confidence, and he's coming in with confidence. He's getting paid, I think, a decent chunk.
Like 10 million.
Yeah, I know there's 10 million out there for him. And I think they're going to build around him. So that's what's exciting to me is to see what other pieces they bring together around him to kind of to build it up. So, all right, moving away from that, let's talk about the draft here, and then we will close it out. What's your thoughts on the draft? Who do you think is going number one overall? Who do you think the Lions are going to get?
Um, so I'm gonna say that the number one overall draft pick is gonna be Cam Ward out of Miami because Miami has really never had like that good of a college team football, and he really changed that around, and they ended up doing have a really good season, and I think that he would be a pretty good NFL quarterback.
Quarterback out of Miami, Cam Ward, number one overall. I thought you were throwing around like Shador Sanders,
Yeah,
names like that.
I thought I thought it was going to be Shador Sanders, but I now think that it's going to be Cam Moore because um I think that it's the Tennessee Titans that get the number one overall pick, and they're really seeking, I think, a quarterback like Cam Ward. But I will say that Shador Sanders will probably be the second overall pick because he's a really good quarterback too.
Who's got the number two pick? Do you know?
I think it's the Cleveland Browns.
Who's their quarterback right now?
So that's a lot too. So they had Deshaun Watson,
Oh yeah.
and nobody likes him at all. He's bad.
So you think they're going to look for a replacement?
Yeah, because he ended up getting really injured. I think he like tore his ACL or something like that. Like that play where he got injured, he just like took a few steps and just collapsed and is like tore something. So he'll so he was out for the rest of the season. But I think that they don't even want him back, really, honestly. So I think that they're gonna draft Shador Sanders. But I mean, Cleveland, they also lost Amari Cooper this season, which he kind of carried them. So
Yeah, the Browns are not a good team. They've struggled for a long time. So what do you think the Lions are going to do in the draft? I think I'd seen earlier where they're at in the draft, but
they're like the last pick.
one of the last picks or the last pick in the first round. So who do you think they're going to go with?
So Aiden Hutchinson was from Michigan, and he's a defensive end. So that was a really good pick. I think that they're going to draft Jack Sawyer from Ohio State. Even though he's from Ohio State, if the Lions do draft him, I'd say I'll probably still like him if he's good.
If he's good.
Yeah.
So he's got coming from Ohio State, he's got that stain on him. If he comes to the Lions, we can see past the Ohio State stain and forgive him only if he's good.
Yeah. And he did have a really, really good season this year. Like, I forget what game it was, but he got that. Oh, it was the Texas game. He got that scoop and score and ran like 70 some yards and got that.
Yeah.
Like, he's a defensive end. Like,
he can move though. He's pretty quick.
A wide receiver should have been able to catch him, but he's really quick. And he got that. And that's pretty much what gave him the win over Texas, I'd say. But
yeah, no, he was a stud for Ohio State throughout the playoffs, throughout the season. I do hope the Lions can pick him up. I guess we'll see. We'll be keeping an eye on that. So, anything else you want to talk about? We kind of covered a lot of different things.
I would also talk about for the Lions on the draft that they would also need some strong cornerbacks or safeties or all of that stuff because like they are going to have a lot of people come back, but like how good will they be? Like, will they be different? How will they play and other stuff?
We had Terry on this year. I think he was decent. I think he's a little immature.
I think he just has
mistakes.
He just has to learn what the penalties are and stuff like that.
Yeah, it took him several games to kind of get over that part of it.
But he was still getting penalties a lot.
Yeah, and even in that game the other day, there was some missed coverage on his part. Again, a lot of it's learning. Being a rookie out there in this league is not easy. Again, in college, you're playing against some of the best guys again in the country, but the pros is truly the best guys, across the nation. So it's difficult out there. So
And people are a lot bigger and more experienced, stuff like that. But I would say that in that Lions Commanders game, that was not a pass interference. That guy fell on his own in that end zone.
yeah,
Like you can even see it there. He didn't even get touched. He just fell on his own.
yeah, that we could talk about the refs, but I'd rather not. We've talked about the Lions. We talked about the loss. I don't even want to talk about it anymore, to be honest with you. It's time to move on. I mean, it is what it is. Disappointing. They should have won, could have won this, again, arguably was their year. Last year was their year. They should have beat San Francisco.
That's
This
another thing
year,
that I don't talk about.
they could have and should have beat the Commanders. But again, there was a lot of things working against them. Defense didn't help. So time to move on, in my opinion, from the Lions. But anything else you want to talk about? I think we,
I mean, that kind of covered it all.
yeah, kind of covered it. So appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Again, we aren't always going to go live. Mostly we will be pre-recorded. We got our equipment coming in this week. We're going to be figuring all that stuff out, figuring out how to go live on Spotify, or not live, but published out to Spotify, Apple. We'll be posting on YouTube quite a bit as well. But yeah, if you guys haven't, I will post a link to our Facebook page on here, the YouTube channel. Please go like the Facebook page. We need to get more subscribers or more followers on there. And please go follow us on YouTube as well. But yeah, we look forward to bringing you a lot more Detroit sports and more. We're going to be talking. We've got hockey now to look forward to,
Yep.
look at.
Because the Red Wings have been pretty hot once they got their new coach.
Yeah, they went on a 7-win, a game winning streak there after bringing McLennan in. Hoping to try to get to a Wings game here shortly. But yeah, we got hockey still, and we got baseball. Tigers baseball will be coming up. They had a pretty good season last year, and I don't know. It's looking like maybe this year they'll be able to make another run for the playoffs too. So got a lot of stuff going on. The Pistons, just being honest up front,
They're not our favorite.
they're not our favorites. We're not big NBA fans. But that being said, we do like college basketball. So March Madness will be coming up here really just around the corner in a couple months. Yeah. So we will be talking some March Madness and college hoops.
And we'll probably be talking about the Super Bowl and maybe even ripping packs and stuff like that.
Of course, we got the Super Bowl coming up in a couple weeks. NFL, the rest of the NFL playoffs. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff coming up. We're excited to bring this to you guys. Stay tuned. And yeah, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. So any final words?
I don't know.
That's it.
Go Lions.
Go Lions. Again, appreciate everything that you guys bring to us. Thanks for tuning in. We're tuning out. See ya. Let's go.